family. Like, I was like, I'm gonna be open-minded. I am someone who likes to solo travel, so I would highly recommend for those who like to do that and listen to the show, like, this is the perfect location for that. I went in alone, and as soon as I walked in, I was walking up the hill. I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry was playing. I was like, this is it. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. And from the second I stepped foot on camp, I like felt like it was a chosen family. And now I am consistently, like throughout the year, traveling to see people I met at camp, or people are coming to stay with me. I, at least a couple of times a month, am seeing people and spending time with people who I met at camp, and have so many new lifelong friends who I can't believe I wouldn't have in my life if I hadn't gone to camp.
You're listening to Queer Travel Chat by Two Bad Tourists. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Queer Travel Chat. My name is Austin. I am one half of the blogger duo, Two Bad Tourists, and joining me every week or every month or every podcast, whenever we record it, is David.
I'm here too. Hello. We are back.
We are back in Madrid, back home, which is, of course, where we live. We just spent last week in San Sebastian, which is in the north of Spain, in the region called the Basque Country. Beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous city.
I love the Basque Country.
Love it.
I love San Sebastian.
I didn't have enough time to actually enjoy the destination because we were actually there for a travel conference where I was speaking. So we got to enjoy a little bit in the evenings, but there was a lot of kind of work to be done and conference events to attend.
Tell them about TBEX.
Yeah, so TBEX is it's been going on for 15 years. It originally stood for the Travel Blog Exchange, but nowadays, like 15 years ago is when blogging kind of took off, people, with websites. But nowadays you get like content creators, YouTubers.
Now it stands for teabags.
No, it doesn't stand for teabags. It's still the same name.
But you did a talk about revenue advertising something, and you killed it. You did such a great job.
I did. Thank you. David was in the front audience. It wasn't a packed house, but we definitely had a group of maybe 10 to 12 very engaged listeners.
There you go.
So as long as
we agreed that it was a problem with the title because the presentation was fantastic.
Yeah,
I think the title
next year I'll
you need to edit that and really draw people in.
Yeah.
But while we were there were some events organized. We got to do like a welcome event for all the speakers and sponsors, and so that was really nice because it was on a pier outside. There was like traditional Basque music playing as they like paraded us through the street, and
we had some small, quaint little Basque town that we never would have went to on our own,
which we would have enjoyed so much more had we not had to pee so badly, because we were bitching and moaning the whole time, and we're in this beautiful small town
on the bus ride to the town, right?
And because we had been drinking before, and we just had to pee and it was like an hour bus ride.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that. Oh, I hope nobody heard us because I'm embarrassed how we were acting. But
the ride back was amazing because
it was so much better because we peed.
Yeah, we got to enjoy the views and everything.
And then the next day we went to go see a traditional sport called Jai Halai. Is that how you say it? Jai Halai. Hayalai.
I thought it was Hayalai.
Hayalai. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it terribly. Hayalai, which is like, I would call it like, what's the sport that you throw the ball at the wall?
It's like
racquetball?
Wall ball or racquetball, but it doesn't have a racket.
Racquetball.
It has a kind of a glove, weird elongated glove thing.
And fun fact, you told me that it is the sport with the fastest moving balls. That's what you said. Is that not true?
Nice. Fastest moving ball.
Well, there's
balls.
Okay.
But then someone mentioned golf, and then we were debating whether it was the first or the second. Anyways, it goes really fast.
Those balls move fast.
Yeah. Those balls move fast.
And then we did a Devour tour, of course, because Devour has food tours in San Sebastian. So we got to eat fantastic tapas and pinchos and vermouth and sea snails. So it was an adventure. You can see their stories on Instagram to see our experience in San Sebastian. All good things until our flight got canceled.
Oof, yeah.
And we had to spend 2 hours sorting. What a mess.
Travel is great sometimes, but sometimes when you have a setback, it's frustrating and challenging.
That was stressful. So we came back a full day early So missed that closing party, but still it was nice to get back to Madrid anyway.
Yeah, we made it back. Here we are, just in time for this podcast.
But and the Basque country is it's beautiful. You really feel like you're in a completely different part of Spain, because it is completely different. There's distinct culture and language, and you can really feel that. So I absolutely love it. If you haven't been, you have to add it to your travel list for sure.
Yes, they're not the sponsor of this episode. However, the sponsor of this episode is Camp, so we're super excited to speak with Kerry and Kat from Camp, or about Camp, which is a summer camp for LGBTQ plus adults. It's been going on since 1970.
You want to say it's been going around as if it's an STD.
It's been going on. Actually, it says in this outline, it says been around.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. Sorry.
It's been around.
There you go.
Since 1997.
Nothing is going around except for my stomach bug.
I think that's just you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So it's been going on since 1970. Oh gosh. Yeah, 1997.
From the top.
So we're super excited to speak with Kerry and Kat about Camp, a summer camp for LGBTQ plus adults that's been around since 1997. And it offers fun and distinctive vacation for LGBTQ plus visitors and attendees as part of the community. And Kerry has been involved with the camp since the beginning, since the very first one. He's now the owner and director. And Kat is just a year-long ambassador. They were just there for the first time this past summer. So we'll talk to them, get to talk to them a little bit about the event.
Yeah, it's good to get the experience from both of them because, of course, Kerry has been involved since the beginning. This is his first full-time gig, right? His full-time job. And Kat, was the first time that they went last year. So they're giving us this kind of like first-time experience perspective in addition to being an ambassador.
So it's located in central Maine, so in the northeast of the U.S. So it's structured like you might kind of think. It's a sleepaway summer camp with a week-long activity. So something that you might expect is like, going to as a kid, but this is for adults. So that's kind of a cool model. So lots of outdoor activities, athletics, arts and crafts. But we'll kind of get the real rundown from them when we chat with them here in a minute.
So, but my question is, before we bring them on, like, camp is like play on words, right? Of like,
for sure,
like you're campy, like camp.
Yeah, like your camp. Which I don't know in American English, they don't use like the word camp.
Drag, like a drag style could be camp.
Yeah. It's maybe right. I think that's used a lot in British English more so than American English.
Well,
but
if
yes,
you've ever watched RuPaul's Drag Race, you've heard it a lot for sure.
Okay,
that's okay. So that's what I assumed.
That's what I said.
But maybe it was going to be an acronym. Like, I can't think of a good acronym right now.
What a great transition, David. So speaking of camp, did you ever go to camp when you were a kid?
Oh my God, yeah. I grew up going to summer camps all the time with my church. So I really liked camps. I remember that me and my sister Megan would go. I went way more than she did, but she would dread it. It'd be like the worst part of her summer. And I'd be like, yay, camp, because she actually had a life and friends and I didn't. And
so for you,
well, my life was really involved around the church. So that was my social outlet. So I loved it. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I know for sure the first person I came out to was my pastor. I think it was during a camp. It could have been during maybe just another
during summer camp.
I think so. I remember that we were like outside somewhere and like it felt like camp ambiance or something. So but if I didn't, he was still the first person I came out to. But just I was very involved with it, and I loved. We went to like Lake Mead for a week. We did. Sometimes we were on college campuses. We did a lot of stuff. What about yourself?
I remember having good memories of camp. I went one time in 4th grade and 6th grade. Generally good memories. The 4th grade one, I did get stung by a bee on my lip, like within the first few hours of arriving. And then I stepped on a nail later. So maybe the 4th grade experience wasn't as good. The 6th grade one, though, was great. And then you and I actually went, it's been a while now, maybe like 10 years ago. No, even more than that, probably 12 years ago. We went to a foster care camp because your sister was working in the foster care industry. And I think not the industry, the foster care, or worked in.
She works in foster and adoption care.
Yeah. So they put on
I don't know,
a camp for like new foster families and things like that, I think, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So not that foster care industry.
It sounds like they're just producing children. Ship them
Yeah, you
out.
just go shopping at the camp, the foster care camp.
No, because it'd be families who are involved in foster
Exactly.
care or who have adopted as well, and
Yeah.
so they go to these camps.
So
they kind of
we
hang
went
out, so.
and kind of like participated
Did we
as staff.
volunteer?
Yeah, we volunteered. I remember like wiping down tables or like we weren't like
We still-
full time, but we maybe like 1 or 2 hours a day we were helping
We
out.
still got to drink wine, right?
I think we did. Otherwise we wouldn't
I
have
think
went,
we did it
right?
with cabins.
Yeah.
I also remember once at camp, because you like go to these like it was Christian camp, so you'd be going like I don't know, to these sermons or whatever, to these classes about faith and whatever. And I remember a bunch of people throwing away all their like secular music in the trash, like after they've learned that they should only listen to like Christian music or something. So like goodbye NSYNC and Britney Spears, you're bad for my brain. And just I have this full memory of everyone tossing their CDs.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so anyway, I like camp. Maybe not that camp nowadays. Camp sounds more up our alley.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so before we get into the episode or the interview, if you like the show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And also be sure to leave a 5-star review if you really enjoy our episodes. That really helps us a lot. And if you're watching on any social media platform, feel free to leave a comment or share the episode with your friends. And of course, you can always follow us on social media. We're always at Two Bad Tourists.
All right, so let's bring on Kerry and Kat.
All right, Kerry and Kat, thank you so much for joining us. We are super excited to talk all about Camp. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Excellent. Thanks for having us.
Let's kind of dive right in. Can you both tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do? We can have you start, Kerry.
Yeah, my name is Kerry Riffle. I use he, him pronouns. I have been involved with Camp since the very beginning, back in 1997. I haven't been owner and director since then, but I was around from the very first year, so I have all that historical stuff up in my head. But I have been owner and director of camp since 2006. So we celebrated our 25th anniversary last summer. So we're moving to a new site to sort of mark our start of our next 25 years. So we're excited about that this summer.
Excellent. Congratulations
Yeah,
on that.
congrats on the quarter century.
And Kat?
My name is Kat. I use they, them pronouns. I am based on the East Coast here in Boston, but I actually heard about Camp via social media. And at the time, I decided I would sign up for their free Camp Week giveaway. And I've never won anything in my entire life. And it was, if that was planned for this exact moment, because I did win a free week to Camp, and it forever changed my life. So I've been at camp for one summer so far. And as soon as I got there, I knew it was going to be something that I went to long term. So I feel very grateful that I was able to experience the initial location of camp for the past 25 years. And now I'm able to transition with folks to the new location.
Awesome. So you're already registered for this summer's camp. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah, Kat's been on our transition team we set up to help with this move. They're actually our new outreach manager. So they've been working on outreach, helping to get some more folks to camp.
Awesome. Kat, can you tell us a little bit more about what got you motivated to get involved?
Yeah, of course. So I think something that was really important to me was the intergenerational aspect of camp. I was someone on the younger end of the folks who are at camp. And I have queer community here in the Boston area, but I hang out a lot with people who are my own age. And so it was really special to be in a community where there were people of all ages, all genders, all sexualities. And I think it's just really important to also have younger folks on that leadership team to be able to pull in more diverse folks to camp, because Kerry will probably share that our average age is probably 40 something or
Yeah,
so.
late 40s, early 50s. Yeah.
And so I definitely was on the younger end, and I want folks who are out in the community, younger folks, people who are gender nonconforming, to be like, oh, this is a safe space for everybody. It's not just for older folks or folks who are just gay or lesbian or cisgender. So I think that's what really motivated me to want to have more of a voice at camp.
I really can connect with that intergenerational aspect of it that you say, because I do think in the queer community, we have very few spaces where we're going to interact, the younger with the older. And we really should, because we have so much, shared history and experience. That's one of the things I like about, we do host a group trips and we have a lot of older guests join us. It's one of the best parts of it, because the rest of the year, I'm like, when am I going to see, hang out with people who are, 30 years older than me?
I was just thinking, like, Pride is kind of the one time a year when the entire community gets together. And I love that you guys have been able to create like another opportunity, which is super cool. Okay, so we've kind of like talked about it, but like, if you, I don't know, either Kerry or Kat, like if you had to explain what Camp is in like 60 seconds, what would you say?
I mean, the quick version is that we're a week-long summer camp for LGBTQ adults, 21 and over. We're structured just like a sleepaway summer camp for kids, except it's queer adults. So it's all a big part of camp is about the community. So we have a 75% return rate. So
that's
in any given year, 75% of the people have been there at least one other time. On average, we tend to have a 40% of the people have been there 5 years or more. So we have a really strong ongoing community. We have a presence on social media. We have a private Facebook group where people keep in touch during the year. So it's turned out to be more than just a vacation. It's really about building a community and all that kind of thing. So, but it's a vacation, but it's sort of capital V vacation, because you get a lot more out of it than your standard vacation, I think.
Is that your construction cat? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh my God, do you hear it? I'm so sorry.
We hear something. It's not coming from me.
Listen,
It's
it happens.
coming from me.
We're working, from home. I'm just gonna acknowledge it for the audience when they're like, "What is that noise?" Kat warned us there was some construction happening.
That's the construction.
When you live in the city,
I will mute myself when I'm not talking.
Well,
Yes, when you live in the city, that's what happens.
it's always there's construction always by my place, and then I move and it finally finishes, but then my new place has new construction. It's just how it is.
We were at a travel conference last week. This is similar but related. And there was it was the closing session, and there was a panel of 3 people. And one of my friends was about to speak after the presenter, said something, and then a dog barked, right in the middle. And everyone's like, wait, that happens on Zoom, but you never know.
So for folks who are used to hearing construction every day or live in the city, if you go to camp, you'll have a week of peaceful, quiet mornings. So
it's a nice transition.
Yeah.
I think I would add one thing to what Kerry said is just it's a vacation, but it's such a safe space. I tried so many new things at camp. I did acting classes. I did lots of arts and crafts that I've never tried before. And I'm someone who doesn't mind being, on the public front, but I probably wouldn't feel as comfortable just performing at the talent show, a new skit that I had learned the day before in an acting class. And no one is judgmental at camp. You get to interact with all of these people, and everyone sees you for who you are and appreciates the fact that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I think that's one of my most favorite things about camp.
Well said.
Well, we talk at camp, especially during our staff training, but how camp is about stepping out of your comfort zone. And like Kat said, that means different things for different people. For a lot of gay men, myself included, it can mean throwing a softball or playing volleyball, because just of all the shame around sports we had growing up as gay kids. For other people, like Kat said, it's getting on stage in the talent show or going to pottery and making a pot because, you don't think you're creative. So camp offers you the space to just try all that kind of stuff and all the activities. It's all included. It's an all-inclusive vacation. So for the one price, you can do whatever you want.
Can you continue to elaborate on those activities? Can you list them out? What other ones are there in addition to sports ball?
Yeah, it's sort of your standard summer camp activities, plus some that are obviously geared towards a queer adult audience, clientele. So pottery, stained glass, mountain biking. There's lake swimming. What am I missing, Kat?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Yeah, there's the acting classes, jewelry making, regular sports and games, bowling, sailing.
Yeah, we're one of the things we're excited about with this new location. It just offers a lot more than our original location. So it has a new 4-lane bowling alley, horseback riding, archery. These are all the new things. Water skiing. There's an aqua park, an inflatable aqua park in the swimming area of the lake. So it's just, this is sort of the Waldorf of summer camps. So really offering a sort of upgraded experience with, we've always said we have over 30 activities a day, but I'm guessing now we'll have close to 40 every day. So
Okay, so the guests are spoiled for choice, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of times with first year campers on Tuesday or Wednesday, we have to say, hey, go take a nap, relax.
Right.
You're exhausted already. You can't do everything. Just take the afternoon off.
And how many campers do you get usually?
Pre-COVID, we were maxing out at around 240. We had 2 years off due to COVID, obviously. And since then, we've been about 210, 220. So we're hoping to get up to 240 at this new location. But the excellent thing about this new place is that it can sleep almost 400 people. So we really have the opportunity to have camp grow, which was part of the reason for our move. So
cool. And what can people expect in terms of like accommodations, or how will they be sleeping?
Yeah, it's a sleepaway summer camp, so the bulk of the accommodations are in shared cabins, communal cabins. So this new site does offer some private or semi-private options, which are all sold out already. They sold out within the first 2 weeks, but we offered those with an additional surcharge for people who want a little more privacy. But the cabins are nice. These cabins are air conditioned. They're well kept. Everybody has their own bed with a little dresser underneath and a shelving unit, and so it is communal living, which I know scares a lot of the adults. But frankly, for me, I spend most of my time in the real world alone. I, used to live alone and all that other kind of stuff. So for me, the communal living was part of the fun. And
let's hear from Kat how that experience was, because you did it for the first time last year, right? The communal living.
I did, yes, and I think there's something so special about communal living. I think it really adds to the camp aspect. Like, I would probably try to encourage someone who's going to camp for the first time and be like, the private suites may sound appealing, but also if you're able to, like, give it a try, like sleep with some other folks. I mean, I know there's, concerns of snoring and all these things, but honestly, I was so tired from the days full of activities. And again, I was a first year camper, so I was trying to do everything, that I had the best sleep of all time, because I would just knock out after a full day's worth of activities. There's something so special about sharing space in the day outside with folks, but also just in a cabin, and they give that rustic feel to camp too. And I think that these cabins keep that, although this is, a camp that offers more amenities and I think, like Kerry was saying, a little bit of an upgrade from the place that we were at. It still has that rustic feel when it comes to the communal cabins. And also they're at this camp specifically, the way that they're located, they all face one another. And so there's something that we call like porch culture at camp, where folks just hang out on their porches late at night. There's lights set up and you get to just interact with people. And I think that's just a really intricate part to camp culture and being there with other folks.
I think one of the, you guys probably see this, but one of the benefits of like the communal living is you can have solo travelers like join so easily. And I know like our audience, we have a huge percentage of solo travelers, people who, seek out community or want to join other groups. And that's great, because whereas sometimes on some of our like group trips or cruises, they would have to pay for like the entire room themselves, and pay extra as a solo. There, for you guys, everyone pays kind of the same, right? Whether you're traveling with other people or not.
Yeah, we like I said, what we call the standard cabins, the communal cabins, they're included in the price. So when the private or semi-private ones are available, they're an additional fee, but otherwise everything else is included. You get your choice. We have gendered cabins, so there's cabin for men or women. You can ask for non-binary or an all genders cabin. So we've sort of offer all sorts of options there. And I'm sorry, I forgot what your actual question was.
I don't know that I actually have.
About the solo travelers.
Oh, yeah, just that's the same price for everyone, right?
But on that note, can you talk to us a little bit about the demographic, a little more about the people who come, the age range? Is it more male or female identified of the guests that go? Are they mostly Americans, things like that, or solo travelers?
And that's what Austin's comments had inspired me to say, was with the solo travelers, we have about 80% of the people who come to camp are traveling alone or are there without their partner. The other 20% are couples. So it is a very solo traveler friendly place, and we've been doing it long enough. We know we've structured the first 24 hours to make it real easy for you to get to meet people and know people, so people feel at home pretty quickly. So age range is 21 and over. Last year our age range was 21 to 81. The 81-year-olds coming back, so our age range this year is probably 21 to 82 at least.
Yeah.
Most people do tend to be in their late 40s, early 50s, but as Kat said, there's people from every age and demographic, from 21 up through 81. And it's about, over the years, we've pretty much stayed consistently about 60% men, 40% women. That varies a little bit year to year. And out of that 60-40, about 5% of the people these days identify as genderqueer or non-binary. So there's, some representation all across. The women have never said that they feel outnumbered. It feels very equitable in that way. And in addition to the, intergenerational thing, the other thing I've always loved about camp is the fact that it's all gender identities, all sexual orientations together. We always have a handful of straight identified folks at camp, but usually staff we've hired from the host camp to do things like ropes course or horseback riding, the more high risk activities where you need more skills to teach. But it's a really an awesome mix of people. It's actually the people that everyone tells us are the reason they keep coming back. Is the people they meet at camp and the community there. So it really is a big part of the experience.
And it's located in Maine, right? So it's a North American audience.
For the most part. This particular camp we're moving to is in central Maine. So it's about 80 miles northwest of Portland, between Augusta and Bangor. So we provide transportation from Portland or Augusta airports up to camp. But yeah, it's in Maine. And if you've not been in Maine in the late summer, it's gorgeous up there. So yeah.
So Kat, as we were talking about, the diversity of the guests that go, and 80% are solo travelers. How was your experience going in? Did you know anyone? Did you have a single friend there, or did you go in completely blind and ready to meet new people?
I went in completely blind. Actually, I would highly recommend that if anyone is going through a breakup or just wants to go meet some more folks, you should go, because it just all came together. I went through a really bad breakup. Then I got this message that I thought was a scam, that I had won this free week to this camp that I would have died to go to. And I went in like no expectations, really. Like I was like, I'm going to be open-minded. I am someone who likes to solo travel. So I would highly recommend for those who like to do that and listen to the show, like this is the perfect location for that. I went in alone. And as soon as I walked in, I was walking up the hill. I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry was playing. I was like, this is it. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. And from the second I stepped foot on camp, I felt like it was a chosen family. And now I am consistently, throughout the year, traveling to see people I met at camp, or people are coming to stay with me. I, at least a couple of times a month, am seeing people and spending time with people who I met at camp, and have so many new lifelong friends who I can't believe I wouldn't have in my life if I hadn't gone to camp. So I understand the fear of stepping outside one's comfort zone if they don't often travel alone, but this is the perfect place for that. Yeah. I did not feel alone this from the second I arrived. I felt like I was a part of it, and everyone is kind of there doing the same thing. And also there's a lot of people who, honestly, a majority, Kerry probably knows the percentage better than I do, but a majority of the folks who go there are going solo, whether they have a partner or not. It's okay to go alone if your partner doesn't want to go with you. Many people kind of see this as their vacation. It's something that they want to do, or it's their thing, and their partner just doesn't vibe with it or doesn't want to go, or they do it separately. And that's totally cool too. And really welcomed there. And it's just a really special, amazing place. And also just David, for, I think, answering your question before, we have folks that come to camp from outside North America too, from the UK and stuff. So
cool. Yeah, I was
getting
ready to follow up on that, but we already have a few people from the UK registered. We've had people from Germany, Mexico, Australia who've all made the trip to the States just to come to camp. So,
all right. So we've talked about the accommodations, the activities.
Getting into the important thing.
Yeah,
now.
What am I going to be eating if I go to camp?
and we love wine. So can I have a glass of wine at camp? Because this is
the food at camp is not camp food. We anticipate that the food at our new camp is going to be just as good as it was at our old camp, but it's more restaurant quality food than what you would assume summer camp. So, we have vegan food available, gluten-free, dairy-free. We can deal with all that. We do serve beer and wine at some of the evening social events, and then we do a late night bar. We do a late night bar most nights from 10:30 to 12:30. So most of the beer and wine is included with the price of admission. The stuff at the late night bar is an additional fee. I think it's $5 for a drink ticket for a glass of wine or a beer, or we serve like Mike's Hard Lemonade, hard seltzer, that kind of stuff as well. Sort of a cocktail replacement. So so all that is great. There's snacks out all day long. They usually put out snacks and stuff at the late night bar, so everybody's well fed. Need the food to keep up the energy for all the activities and stuff. So
okay, so when I think about camp, I also think about rules, and it sounded like, okay, so there's alcohol available 10:30 to 12:30, that was, or something. What are some other like more structured rules that people may or may not expect?
The biggest one probably is just around being respectful for quiet hours. I mean, we say quiet hours are officially from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. Now, obviously, we have some activities early in the morning and people are out late at night, but people are pretty respectful for all that. The drinking is only allowed at certain times. Cannabis is legal in Maine now, so we allow cannabis consumption at camp. Same structure as the alcohol. I don't think there are many restrictive rules. Do you, Kat? I think most of what's there is just for around safety. You got to wear shoes and all this other kind of stuff. They're mostly about keeping people safe, is really what the rules are about. So
as we were preparing for this chat today, I was just thinking about like the different camps that I went to as a kid. And then David and I were just talking about, we went to one maybe like 10, 12 years ago. It was like a foster kid camp. And so, I was kind of curious, like, do either or both of you have experience with camp, like not as an adult, like as a kid? And how does that sort of translate to what you're doing today?
Kat, you can go first.
So I didn't grow up going to camp. I always wanted to. I'm like a very outdoorsy granola type of person. Love camping, love hiking, love doing all of those activities. And I never got the opportunity to go to camp growing up. It was just something my family couldn't afford, but I had friends who went and I was always so jealous. And then I started working at a summer camp when I was in college out in Wisconsin. But I wasn't a camper there. I was working. And so I got to experience the activities, but it was very different from being a camper. So this was actually my first time being a camper at a summer camp. And it was truly like everything that I could have imagined as a kid. But now being able to do it as my authentic self, like I think if I had this as a younger kid, it probably wouldn't be as comfortable. I mean, who knows? Like it didn't happen to me, but just to be able to have this experience available for adults who maybe couldn't have the camp experience they wanted when they were a kid, whether they didn't go to camp at all or whether they went to camp and they had to hide themselves, or it wasn't a queer friendly camp, or they, just weren't their authentic selves. And so now it's like an opportunity for people to just have that kid-like experience. Like it really is just so youthful. It's a beautiful place.
I love that idea, because I went to camp growing up a lot, but it was church camp. So of course I wasn't going as my authentic self and I was closeted. So it would be nice to kind of have this as a redo, get to go as an adult and really get to experience it as who you really are. I like that. Gary?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I went to camp for 1 week. The little small town school where I grew up, all the sixth graders went to Camp Storer for a week over spring break. But I was miserable. I hated it. I had to bunk with the boys, and I didn't have any friends that were male and all this other kind of stuff. So I just hated it, other than having a crush on my captain counselor. But that's a whole other story.
It helps.
So, and unlike Kat, I'm not really an outdoorsy person, but somehow I found myself, I was a theater major in college, so I always expected I'd have my own theater company, whatever, but here I've owned this summer camp instead, so it all translates, it all makes sense. Yeah. It's like producing a big show, complete with backstage drama and divas. So that part of it. But yeah, about half the people, probably a third or half the people who come are all people who were longtime campers as kids.
Mhm.
And some of them are coming to sort of heal or repair those awful memories of being a queer kid at summer camp, especially those in my generation, you know, who were doing it back in the 70s or even 80s. You know, and I think others are coming because they were longtime campers, and it's a way to revisit that as an adult. And, you know.
Well, from talking about the campers, I want to know like what the feedback that you get. What's like one or two of the top comments you get that people loved about camp, and maybe also one or two negative things that people think, oh, this wasn't something that they expected or enjoyed.
Well, I think we touched on this a little bit ago, but I think the thing we hear the most, we always send out a survey after camp just to get people's feedback on the week. And the first year people, when we ask them what surprised you the most, they always say the people, the community. Everyone was so welcoming, all that kind of thing. And when we ask the returning campers, why did you come back? It's the people. So that's the thing people love the most. I think that it's, you know, sort of the all-inclusiveness of the vacation, and that doesn't just mean the cost and everything you get for that, but just the safe space and the community and all that. But, you know, the opportunity to do so many things, you know, and try things you wouldn't try at home. We've had people who come and try stained glass and then go home and, you know, they buy a grinder and all the equipment and open a stained glass studio in their basement, you know. So that kind of stuff is awesome. As far as what people say they don't, the thing people don't like is leaving. Is the first thing that came to my mind. You know, people always talk that they want, you know, we're a week long, and I think as far as all the adult summer camps out there go, we're probably the longest. Most of them tend to only be 3 or 4 days, long weekends, but I think our week-long experience really makes it a pretty, it can be intense, and I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way, but it's a pretty intense experience. And I think that's because it's a week long, but I also think that's why the relationships get to be as deep as they do within a week. It's just, so, you know, people wanted to go home or maybe not getting into all the only other complaint we hear often is I didn't get to do everything I wanted, but maybe that's also why people come back.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
And what about like over the years, have you faced challenges in running an LGBTQ plus adult camp or even before you were the director, were there challenges?
Yeah, I mean, early on, Bill Cole, the guy who started camp, Bill is an awesome guy with probably the biggest heart I've ever encountered in a human being. But he started camp, he was 49, he was married, he was just coming out. His wife encouraged him to go to P-Town. He had an awful weekend. He didn't feel he belonged. And so he got this idea to start this camp. So Bill was also the least gay man I ever met. So he knew that, so he surrounded himself with people who were pretty active in the queer community in Boston at the time, back in the late 90s. So, you know, he just wanted to create this experience that was not sex focused, that was not alcohol focused, that was about building community. And it, you know, it worked. So
good.
Yeah, 25 years later, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
So we haven't mentioned what are the dates and what are the rates?
Yeah, the dates this summer are August 11th through the 18th. So again, you can fly into Portland, Maine or Augusta, Maine, and we'll pick you up there and get you out to camp. The full rate for the week is $19.75. That's all inclusive. So that's all your activities, all your food, all your lodging, your transportation to and from camp. From the airport. We do have a reduced fee program through our staff program, which is sort of our version of a sliding scale. So those rates range from $4.75 for the week to I think $14.50 for the week, depending on how many hours you work. Unfortunately, at this point, we only have 3 or 4 positions left, but especially if you're an avid bowler, we need some bowling instructors for this new bowling alley and a few other things. So those are all on our website. But about half the people who come to camp take advantage of our staff program and work during the week in exchange for those reduced fees. So it's really part of what helps make it a communal experience.
All right, Kat. So if you're not a bowler and maybe you're listening to this podcast and you're intrigued, but you're not really quite sure, like, what would you say to them? And I want to ask you, because you're like a new ambassador, right?
I talk about camp like somehow I find a way to talk about camp every day when I'm speaking to strangers. Like the other day I met this gay couple on the train going to New York, and within 5 seconds, I'd already taken a picture with them and told them about Camp. Like, I don't know how, but I did.
Yeah.
I would say do it. Like, if you're questioning it at all, or there's any inkling that you would, maybe interested in it, just do it. I don't think anyone would regret it, really. And yeah, I think it's a little bit harder now that many of the staff positions are open, but in future years taking advantage of the staff programming, at least I know for younger folks, like, we're broke. So working and also just like a camp that's run for and by people with oh my God, I'm so used to saying people with disabilities. Run for and by. I work with people with disabilities, so I say that every day too. We also though, we can talk about how we're disabled friendly after I finish the sentence. That's run by LGBTQ folks. Like, just, it's everyone's just working together. I would just say do it. I would encourage everyone to go, no matter your age, no matter your sexuality, no matter your gender. I found it to be nothing but a safe space.
I think that, but yeah, elaborate a little bit more, if you will, on people with disabilities or mobility issues, because we do have some followers and listeners who travel with us and have mobility issues, and it is, they need extra attention. Is Camp able to provide that?
To a degree, within the just very inherent limitations within a summer camp, but especially if it's not mobility related disabilities, we're usually able to accommodate most of those. But one of the other reasons for moving to this camp was it's pretty much all on one level. Our past camp had a lot of hills that were key to accessing areas like the waterfront and select cabins. And so we had some folks who were just aging out of that space. But this camp is much more accessible because it's pretty much all one level. We do have access to some golf carts, so we can help people with disabilities, with mobility issues, get from one end of camp to the other and that kind of thing. So, we're always able to work with people and do what we can. We have one of our campers has a service dog, and they're both coming back. And so, we all make little name tags, little name chips that we wear during the week and everything. And last year, the service dog had her own name chip and her own name.
I love that.
She was a part of the camp community like everybody else. So yeah, we do what we can to help get everybody there. In addition to the staff program, we do have a camper. We call it our campership fund. And we are a for-profit business technically, but our campers are very generous, and a lot of them will pay fees over and above what they need to in order to allow other people assistance to come to camp. So though we're out of staff positions, we do have a little bit of that money left. So we can also supplement a few folks with that going forward yet this year. So,
well, is there anything anything that we didn't ask you that you still want to let us know about that you'd like to share?
I'll go and then I'll give Kat a chance as well. I mean, I think camp is an awesome time. I'm very proud of what we provide for people at camp. I get a lot out of it as well, which is why I've stuck with it all this time. It certainly has not made me rich or anything like that. I agree with what Kat said earlier. If you're even thinking about coming, just do it. I know people have a lot of hesitations, especially when you're traveling alone, but I just think every queer person should experience it at least once. I mean, some people described it as a love bomb and all this other kind of stuff, and I just think it's really an important thing, especially with how contentious the political environment here is in the States right now and all that. So it's a nice escape with some great people.
Cool. What about you, Kat? Any last thoughts?
I would just say that it's not just a community for a week. Like I was saying, like, I now feel like I have an even greater queer community that is from all over the world just because of this 1 week. Like, anytime I'm traveling, Kerry knows this, like, when we travel, we have this Facebook group, and if we need somewhere to stay for a few days, like, typically everyone is just staying with other campers because they're located all around and happy to host you, happy to have you. And anytime someone's visiting, we'll have camper reunions. And really something that's also special about it is obviously 1 week is a really hard time to meet 220 other people. And so I've become really good friends with people who I didn't even spend that much time with at camp. Just having that connection and then being willing to hang out with them outside of camp community and camp space is, another way to just build that community and be friends with folks. And yeah, I can't say it enough, but I highly recommend that you check it out.
Well, you've sold me.
Please come.
Well, we always like to wrap up with the last question of where are you traveling to next? So, Kerry?
Oh, geez. I haven't even thought about that yet because I just got back.
Or is it Camp?
Yeah, maybe it's
Are you
Maine.
going anywhere?
It's Camp.
Yeah.
I just got back from my little theater trip to New York a couple weeks ago, which I did because I knew I'd be in crunch time. But I'm turning 60 in December, so I want to plan. I'm thinking about a long weekend or a week in Palm Springs with select best friends from the last 60 years. So that may be the actual trip outside of camp that I take.
It's a milestone to celebrate.
What about you, Kat?
Kat, you mentioned, I forgot already, you were going somewhere. You have a trip planned.
I do. I have a couple of trips planned. My upcoming trip in 2 weeks, I'm going to Wisconsin for a week. And then along with
there, or is it just...
I work at that's the summer camp that I work at.
Oh, okay. It's another one. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I work at a summer camp in Wisconsin, but I'm going at the end of the summer, I'm going to Portugal for 2 weeks.
Okay. And then you'll be visiting family there, right?
And I'll be visiting family there. Yes.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
Okay.
Love Portugal. Well, thank you both so much for joining us and giving us all the great news and tips about Camp. David and I were actually talking with Kat before you got on, Kerry, and we had never heard of it until this year. So I'm so glad that I saw the message that came in a couple months ago. So super excited to kind of get the word out, help you spread the word, and to continue growing.
Yeah, it really was like an incredible experience, and I would love to join one day. We'll see what happens, but hopefully people.
We appreciate it if you guys ever making time for us today, and if you guys ever want to come, let us know. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, good luck with this year's Camp.
We definitely.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening or watching if you're watching. And thank you again to Kerry and Kat for taking the time to talk to us about Camp. If you're interested in Camp, we put the link of the website where you can get registered in our show notes so you can check it out. You can use our discount code 2badtourists. Just kidding. We don't have a discount code,
don't,
do we?
But it's campcamp.com.
50% off. No, you can't. No, but it's... That's all your turn.
Oh my gosh. No, you said you were going to do the other one. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'll do it. I'll do
Okay,
the
do
other
it.
one. Okay. If you like this show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen. You can be sure. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the episode. If you're watching live on any social media platform, feel free to leave a comment or share the episode with your friends. You can follow us on social media. We are always at 2badtourists.
All right, so stay tuned for our next episode where we feature our trip to Malaga and Torremolinos, which actually on our last podcast, we said that was going to be the next episode. It's because we snuck this episode of Camp in early before the next episode. So this next one really will be about our trip to Malaga, which we're...
well, because we're about to go in 2 days.
Yeah. So there's not time to skip to do another podcast.
But Camp is in August, so we had to get this episode out.
Definitely, yeah. So we're excited to kind of squeeze that in. So until next time, guys, we will